bullied for being wolfless, until she transformed and all alphas bowed. Every child born in Werewolf carried a promise, the promise of a wolf spirit sleeping inside their blood. When the moon came of age, the spirit would wake, and the child would become more than human. Strength ruled everything here. Power decided respect, and wolves decided worth. But Alara had no wolf. She stood at the edge of the training grounds, her boots sinking into the soft snow. Around her, young men and women laughed as they shifted, bones stretching, bodies growing stronger, shadows turning into fur and teeth. The air shook with energy, pride, and joy. Alara watched quietly, her hands clenched at her sides. She was 18 winters old enough that everyone knew the truth. Her wolf never came. Whispers followed her wherever she went. She's empty. She belonged to House Ash Vale, a noble bloodline that had served the throne for generations. Her family name protected her from being cast out, but it could not protect her from shame. Even servants had wolves. Alara turned away from the training grounds as laughter rose behind her. She walked toward the old stone paths that led beyond the castle walls, where few people went. Snow crunched under her feet. The cold felt honest. It did not pretend to accept her. As she walked, her thoughts drifted to the past. She remembered the night of her calling. All children of Werewolf were tested under the full moon at 16. Families gathered, fires burned, and wolves answered the sky. Alara had stood in white robes, her heart pounding with hope and fear. She waited. The moon shone bright. Nothing happened. Hours passed. The crowd grew quiet. Her mother's hands trembled. Her father's face turned to stone. That night, Alara learned what it meant to be alone in a kingdom built on unity. Since then, her life had become a careful balance. Never too close, never too proud, never too visible. But the world refused to forget her weakness. Alara of Ash Vale. The voice cut through her thoughts. She froze. Only one person spoke her name like that, calm, controlled, and sharp. She turned slowly. Prince Kalen stood behind her. He was tall, his dark cloak edged with silver, the mark of the High Alpha's bloodline. His presence carried quiet authority. Even without shifting, he felt dangerous, like a storm held in place by will alone. His wolf was legendary. Alara lowered her head in respect. "My prince, you should not wander alone," Kalen said. His voice was steady, but his eyes studied her carefully. "The forest beyond the walls is not safe." "I am not afraid," Alara replied softly. That was not fully true, but fear had long stopped guiding her choices. Kalen watched her for a moment longer than necessary. His gaze was not cruel, not mocking like others. It was thoughtful, almost troubled. "You missed training," he said. "I am not needed there." A pause. "That is not how the council sees it," Kalen replied. Alara felt a familiar weight settle in her chest. "The council sees me as a mistake." "That is their failing," he said quietly, her breath caught. No one spoke like that to her, not openly, not honestly. She looked up before she could stop herself. Their eyes met. For a moment, something strange passed between them, not pity, not judgment, recognition. Kalen broke the silence first. "The blood moon rises in 3 nights." Alara nodded. "I know. It was the most sacred night of the year. All wolves would shift together, bound by moon and blood. Even those who already had wolves felt its pull. For Alara, it meant something else. It meant watching. "You are expected to attend," Kalen said, "as always. You could choose not to." She gave a small, sad smile. "Running does not make silence kinder." Kalen said nothing. Snow fell between them, soft and slow. "Alara," he said at last, lowering his voice, "there are things in Werewolf older than wolves." She frowned. "What do you mean?" He looked toward the mountains beyond the castle. "Legends the elders do not speak of anymore." Before she could ask more, distant horns sounded from the city, a call to order. Kalen straightened. "I must go." He hesitated, then added, "Be careful tonight." She watched him walk away, his steps confident, his back straight beneath the weight of duty. Alara stood alone again, but her heart felt unsettled. That night, sleep did not come easily. Alara lay awake in her chamber, staring at the ceiling carved with ancient symbols. Her family home was old, older than the throne itself. The walls whispered when the wind pressed against them. She felt it again, that strange pull. It had started weeks ago, a quiet hum beneath her skin like something stirring far below the surface. She had ignored it at first. Hope was dangerous, but tonight it grew stronger. Alara rose from her bed and wrapped herself in a cloak. She moved through the halls without sound, guided by instinct rather than thought. Her feet carried her beyond the family gates, past the lower gardens, toward the forgotten lands, toward the obelisks. They stood in a circle deep within the forest, tall black stones covered in symbols no one could read. Even wolves avoided the place. Elders claimed the stones belonged to a time before packs, before kings. Alara did not know why she felt drawn to them, only that she did. The forest grew quiet as she approached. No animals, no wind, the obelisk seemed to watch her, her breath slowed. "This is foolish," she whispered. Still, she stepped forward. The moment her hand brushed the cold stone, the world shifted. A sharp pain flared in her chest, not like injury but like awakening. Light and shadow twisted around her fingers. The ground trembled slightly, then stilled. Alara staggered back, heart racing. "What is happening to me?" she whispered. The stone remained silent. She fled the forest before fear could take hold. The next 3 days passed in tension. The kingdom prepared for the blood moon. Fires were built, banners raised, wolves grew restless. Alara felt it more strongly now, the hum, the pull, the weight in her chest. On the night of the blood moon, snow fell like ash. The people gathered in the great clearing beyond the castle. Fires burned bright. Wolves paced in human form, eyes glowing with anticipation. Alara stood at the edge, wrapped in dark cloth, unnoticed and unwanted. The moon rose. One by one, wolves answered the call, the air filled with power. Alara waited. Nothing. A familiar ache spread through her chest, but then something changed. The ground beneath her feet cracked. Gasps echoed around the clearing. Alara fell to her knees as heat and cold surged through her veins at once. Light spilled from beneath her skin, not silver like the wolves, but something older, deeper. The obelisks far away began to glow. The wolves froze. Even the alphas turned. Alara screamed, not in pain but in release. The earth answered, and the kingdom of Werewolf held its breath. The moon hung high above Werewolf, bright and cold, but no one moved. The fires crackled softly, yet even they seemed afraid to burn too loudly. Wolves stood frozen between human and beast, their eyes fixed on one place, on Alara. She knelt in the snow, breath shaking, her hands pressed against the ground. Light faded slowly from her skin, sinking back beneath the surface like a secret pulled into hiding. The cracked earth stilled. The wind returned, but nothing felt the same. Around her, wolves lowered themselves without thought, not because they were told, because instinct demanded it. Gasps spread through the crowd. Fear followed close behind. "This is wrong," someone whispered. "She has no wolf," another said. Yet the land answered her. The elders stepped forward, their long cloaks dragging across the snow. Their faces were pale, eyes sharp with fear disguised as wisdom. Prince Kalen stood apart from them. He had not knelt, but he had not moved either. His chest felt tight, his pulse uneven. His wolf pressed against his mind, restless and uncertain. It did not understand what it had felt, but it knew it had felt something stronger than dominance, something older. "Alara of Ash Vale," Elder Morwen said, her voice loud but shaking. "Step away from the crowd." Alara lifted her head slowly. Her eyes searched the faces around her. She saw fear, confusion, disbelief, no warmth. She rose to her feet, legs unsteady. Every step felt heavy, as if the ground itself was watching her. She obeyed, moving where she was told because resistance felt dangerous, not to them, to herself. She planned this, a noblewoman hissed. She waited all these years. "I did nothing," Alara said softly, but her voice was lost in the noise. Kalen stepped forward at last. Enough! His voice cut through the chaos like steel through fog. The wolves stilled again, drawn to his authority. She has not harmed anyone, he said. There is no proof of wrongdoing. Elder Morwen turned to him sharply. There is proof of imbalance. She did not choose this, Kalen replied. Alara looked at him then, truly looked. Their eyes met and something passed between them, fear, understanding, and a question neither could ask. The High Alpha raised his hand. Take her to the Eastern Tower, he ordered, until we understand what she is. The word struck deeper than any insult. What she is. Alara did not resist as guards surrounded her. Their hands shook as they kept their distance, afraid to touch her. Wolves who once laughed at her now would not meet her eyes. As she was led away, Alara felt something break inside her. Not anger, hope. The Eastern Tower was old, cold, and forgotten. Stone walls wrapped around Alara like a cage. No chains bound her, yet she felt trapped all the same. Candles burned low, their light weak against the shadows. She sat on the edge of a narrow bed, hands clasped tightly in her lap. Her body felt strange, not stronger, not weaker, different. She closed her eyes and breathed slowly. The hum beneath her skin remained quiet but steady like a distant song. When she focused on it, images flickered behind her eyes, stone circles, open skies, crowns made of light and ash. She pulled away from them in fear. "I don't want this," she whispered. The door opened. Alara flinched. Kalen stepped inside. The guards closed the door behind him, leaving them alone. He removed his gloves slowly, as if unsure what to do with his hands. The room felt smaller with him in it, heavy with words unsaid. "You should not be here," Alara said. "I know," he replied. Silence stretched between them. "You scared them," he said finally. "I scared myself." He studied her face, searching for something familiar. "Do you know what happened?" "No." "Do you feel different?" She hesitated. "I feel like I have been awake my whole life without knowing it." Kalen exhaled slowly. "The elders are afraid," he said. "They speak of old stories." "What stories?" He looked away. "Of a power that came before wolves, a force tied to land and balance, not packs or ranks." Alara's heart skipped. "Is that what I am?" "I don't know." The honesty in his voice startled her. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Kalen met her gaze. "Because they were wrong about you before, and they may be wrong again." Her throat tightened. "Everyone was wrong about me." "Yes," he said softly, "including myself." The air between them changed, thick with something unnamed. Kalen took a step closer, then stopped, as if crossing an invisible line. "If they decide you are a threat," he said, "I may not be able to stop them." Alara nodded. "I understand." She did not, but she did not blame him. Days passed. Alara remained in the tower, watched but untouched. The elders argued endlessly. Wolves grew uneasy. The land itself seemed restless, winds shifting, snow melting too quickly, shadows stretching too long at dusk. Alara spent hours sitting in silence, listening to the hum within her. Sometimes it felt warm. Sometimes it felt distant. She began to notice things. The way cracks in the stone seemed to pulse when she passed. The way candles burned brighter when she focused on them. The way pain faded when she pressed her hand to old wounds. She hid these moments. Power without understanding frightened her. Kalen visited when he could. Their conversations were quiet, careful. He spoke of duty. She spoke of loneliness. Neither spoke of what pulled them closer each time. One night, as snow fell softly against the tower windows, Alara asked, "Does your wolf hate me?" Kalen looked surprised. "No." "Does it fear me?" He closed his eyes briefly. "It does not know what you are." She smiled sadly. "Neither do I." On the seventh night, the elders made their decision. Alara was brought to the council hall, surrounded by guards and torches. Wolves lined the walls, their expressions tense. Elder Morwen spoke. "Alara of Ash Vale, you will be bound by seal until we decide your fate." Bound. The word echoed painfully. "I have done nothing," Alara said. You exist outside the order, Morwen replied. That is enough. Kaelin stepped forward. This is unjust. The High Alpha turned to him. You forget your place. No, Kaelin said. I remember it. A low murmur spread. Elara felt the hum rise suddenly, strong and sharp. The air trembled, torches flickered. Stop, she whispered to herself. But the power did not listen. The floor cracked again, not violently but warningly. The wolves backed away. Elder Morwen's face drained of color. See, she cannot be controlled. Elara's chest burned. Tears filled her eyes. I don't want this. The hum surged higher. Kaelin moved without thinking. He stepped in front of her, between her and everyone else. Enough, he said, his voice steady though his hands shook. If you bind her, you bind me. Gasps filled the hall. Elara stared at him. Kaelin. I will not stand by while fear rules us, he said. The room held its breath. Elara felt something shift deep inside her, not power but choice. She reached out and pressed her hand to Kaelin's arm. The hum softened. The cracks stilled. The hall grew quiet. For the first time the power listened. Elder Morwen stared in disbelief. What are you? She whispered. Elara lifted her head, tears falling freely. I don't know, she said, but I am not your enemy. Silence followed. Then the hall doors burst open. A scout rushed in, breathless. My lords, he said, the borders are changing. The land itself is moving. The elders turned pale. Elara felt the hum rise again, not within her this time, but beyond her, calling. The council hall remained silent long after the scout's words faded. The land itself is moving. Those words carried fear deeper than any enemy blade. The elders looked at one another, their certainty cracking like old stone. Wolves shifted uneasily, their instincts confused. The ground beneath Varrowen had always been steady, unchanging. For it to move meant something ancient had awakened. All eyes slowly turned to Elara. She stood still, her hand still resting on Kaelin's arm. She had not meant to touch him, yet once she did, she found it hard to pull away. His presence felt grounding, like an anchor in a rising storm. I did not cause this, Elara said quietly, but doubt filled the room. Elder Morwen's voice trembled. The timing is no accident. Kaelin stepped forward, fully placing himself between Elara and the council. His shoulders were straight, his voice calm, but his heart pounded. Fear does not make truth, he said. The High Alpha stared at his son. You defend her beyond reason. I defend justice, Kaelin replied. The High Alpha's eyes darkened. Justice does not protect the realm from ruin. Elara felt the hum stir again, uneasy. It reacted to emotion, fear, anger, despair. She clenched her hands, fighting to keep it quiet. Let me help, she said. Whatever this power is, I will learn to control it. Elder Morwen shook her head. You speak as if control is possible. Everything can be learned, Elara replied, her voice stronger than she felt. The High Alpha raised his hand. Enough. We will not decide this tonight. The council members exchanged uneasy looks. Elara of Ash Vale, he continued, you will be moved under watch to the northern sanctuary, away from the people, away from the heart of the kingdom. Exile without calling it such. Elara nodded slowly. If it protects them, I will go. Kaelin turned sharply. Father. This is my ruling, the High Alpha said firmly. Kaelin fell silent, but his jaw tightened. Elara felt his anger like heat beside her. As guards approached, she looked at him. It's all right. He met her gaze. It is. But he did not stop them. The journey north was long and quiet. Elara rode in a covered carriage, escorted by wolves who kept their distance. Snow-covered trees passed by like silent witnesses. The farther they traveled, the stronger the hum became, not louder but clearer. She was not afraid anymore. She was listening. They reached the northern sanctuary at dusk. It was an ancient place, built of white stone and surrounded by standing pillars carved with symbols similar to the obelisks. The air felt different here, lighter, yet heavier with meaning. This place predates Varrowen, one guard muttered. Elara stepped inside. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, warmth spread through her chest. The hum softened, almost gentle. "This is where I belong," she whispered. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. That night Alara dreamed. She stood beneath a sky without stars. The land stretched wide and empty. Before her stood a figure made of light and shadow, neither man nor beast. "You were never meant to be empty," the voice said. "You were meant to be whole." She woke with tears on her face. Days passed. Alara learned to sit with the power instead of pushing it away. She breathed slowly, focused on calm, on balance. The sanctuary responded. Cracks in the stone sealed. Wilted plants grew green again. She was not commanding. She was answering. Kalen visited when he could, though each visit carried risk. His presence brought comfort and confusion. "You shouldn't keep coming," Alara told him one evening as they walked the sanctuary grounds. "And yet I do," he replied. She stopped walking. "Why?" He did not answer at once. "Because," he said finally, "when I am away from you, everything feels wrong." Her heart skipped painfully. "Kalen, I know," he said quickly. "This is dangerous." "Yes," she agreed. They stood in silence, the space between them heavy with unspoken feeling. "You are changing," he said. "So are you." He gave a faint smile. "I am learning how little power truly means." Alara looked at him, really looked. The proud alpha heir now questioned his own place. "For her, don't lose yourself," she said softly. He met her gaze. "I found myself." The peace did not last. One night the sanctuary trembled. Alara woke sharply, the hum flaring like a warning. Outside the sky glowed faint red. Distant howls echoed, fearful, not fierce. She ran to the courtyard. The pillars were shaking. Kalen arrived moments later, sword at his side. "The borders are breaking," he said. "The land is tearing itself apart." Alara felt it then, not as power, but as pain. "The balance is broken," she whispered. A messenger arrived, breathless. "The southern packs are turning on each other. They say the old order is ending." Kalen's face darkened. "Fear is spreading." Alara closed her eyes. "This is because of me," she said. "No," Kalen said firmly. "This is because the world refuses to change." She looked at him. "What if the legends are right? What if I was meant to end the wolves?" He grabbed her shoulders gently. "You are not destruction." "How do you know?" "Because I have seen your heart." Her breath caught. Before she could speak, a deep roar echoed across the land, not a wolf's call, but something heavier, older. The ground split beyond the sanctuary walls. Alara staggered, pain tearing through her chest. "It's coming," she gasped. "What is?" Kalen asked. She looked at him, fear and resolve in her eyes. "The force that made me." They returned to Varrowen at dawn. The city was in chaos. Wolves argued openly. Packs refused orders. The throne room stood divided. The elders were waiting. Elder Morwen spoke first. "You brought this upon us." Alara stepped forward. "No, you did by refusing balance," murmurs spread. "You speak treason," the High Alpha warned. Alara's voice shook, but she did not stop. "You built a world on dominance, on silence, on strength without mercy." Kalen moved beside her. The wolves stiffened. The High Alpha stared at his son. "Step away." Kalen did not. Instead, he did something no Alpha heir had ever done. He knelt. Gasps filled the hall. He knelt before Alara, not in submission of fear, but in choice. "I stand with her," he said clearly. "Not as prince, not as alpha, but as equal." Alara's tears fell freely. "Kalen, please," he looked up at her. "I choose you." The hum exploded. Light and shadow burst outward, filling the hall. Wolves fell to their knees, overwhelmed, not forced, but compelled by something deeper than instinct. Alara cried out as the power surged, burning and bright. "Stop," she pleaded. But the force did not listen. The ceiling cracked. The throne shattered. And within the storm of light, Alara felt herself slipping, pulled toward something vast and unfeeling. Kalen reached for her hand. "Stay," he begged. She looked at him, love and fear tearing her apart. "If I stay," she whispered, "everything may burn." "If you go," he said, "so will you." The light grew blinding. Alara made her choice, Not the sharp light of fire, nor the cold shine of the moon, but something deeper, soft and endless, like the first morning of the world. The shattered stone froze in the air, dust hanging like stars caught between breaths. Alara stood at the center of it all. Her feet no longer touched the ground. The power flowed through her fully now, no longer hidden, no longer quiet. It did not feel cruel. It felt vast, heavy. Lonely, she could feel the land of Varrowan like a living thing beneath her, its rivers, its mountains, its people, its wolves, all connected, all wounded. The old force spoke again, not in words but in truth. End the broken order. Return balance. Tears streamed down Alara's face. I don't want to destroy them, she whispered. Images filled her mind, wolves bowing in fear, cities falling, silence where life once stood. That was one path. Another image followed. Wolves standing beside humans, not above them. Power shared, not taken, choice instead of fear. But that path required sacrifice. Alara screamed as the weight of it pressed down on her. Take me instead, she cried. Below her, Kalen struggled against the force pushing him to his knees. His wolf howled inside his mind, not in anger but in grief. Alara, he shouted, look at me. She turned her head. Through the storm of light she saw him broken, kneeling, reaching for her with bare hands. Stay with me, he begged. You are not meant to be alone. Her heart shattered. I don't know how to stop this, she said, her voice breaking. You don't have to rule it, Kalen said. You have to guide it. The power hesitated. For the first time it listened. Alara closed her eyes and breathed. She remembered the cold nights of silence, the laughter she endured, the pain of being unseen, and she remembered every moment of kindness, small, fragile, real. She reached inward not for strength but for mercy. I will not end them, she said clearly. I will change what they became. The light shifted, not brighter, warmer. The throne hall shook once more, then everything fell. Stone crashed to the ground, light faded, the air stilled. Alara collapsed. Kalen caught her before she hit the floor. For a moment there was only silence. Then a low sound filled the hall, not a howl, a bow. One by one the wolves lowered themselves, not forced, not broken, but humbled. Their instincts did not scream submission. They whispered recognition. The elders stared in disbelief. The high alpha rose slowly, his face pale, his voice quiet. What have you done? Alara lifted her head weakly. Her eyes no longer glowed, but they were deeper now, older. I ended dominance, she said. Not wolves. She stood with effort, supported by Kalen. The bond between wolf and land has been reborn, she continued. No alpha will rule by fear again. Power will answer balance, not blood. Elder Morwen trembled. You would tear apart centuries of law. Yes, Alara said gently, because it was built on silence. The high alpha looked around at the kneeling wolves at the broken throne. Then slowly he bowed his head. The age of the alpha crown is over, he said. Gasps filled the hall. Kalen tightened his hold on Alara, steadying her. I will not take your throne, Alara said. I do not want it, she looked at Kalen. I choose to walk beside this world, not above it. He met her gaze, eyes full of emotion. I will walk with you, he said. The days that followed were unlike any Varrowan had known. The wolves did not lose their strength, but it no longer ruled them. Packs learned to listen instead of command. Humans and wolves stood together in council. There was fear. Change always brought fear, but the land healed. Rivers flowed steady again. Crops grew strong. The sky felt lighter. Alara refused titles. They called her many names anyway. The balance bearer, the quiet crown, the one who changed the howl. She lived beyond the throne, near the old sanctuary where the land spoke softly. People came to her for guidance, not judgment. Kalen stepped away from the alpha line. He was no longer prince. He was something rarer, a man who chose. Together they rebuilt, not a kingdom of power, but a realm of trust. One evening, Alara stood on a hill overlooking Varrowan. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in gold and ash. You could have ruled everything, Kalen said beside her. She smiled faintly. And lost myself. He studied her. Do you regret it? She shook her head. No, for the first time I feel whole. He reached for her hand, not as alpha, not as protector, but as equal. She squeezed his fingers gently. The hum within her was gone. In its place was something better, peace. Yet far beyond the mountains, something stirred. Alara felt it not as fear, but awareness. Other lands. Other broken orders, other silent voices. Kaylin followed her gaze. The world is watching you, she nodded. Change always echoes, he smiled softly. Then let it. Alara took one last look at Varrowan, the kingdom that broke her and the world that remade her. The story doesn't end here, she said. No, Kaylin agreed. It begins. The wind rose gently, not with a howl, but with hope.